Chapter 48, Cliffhanger. Larka just managed to dig her fingernails into the earth of the edge of the cliff. She was clinging on for dear life. The Gadget Girl outfit was heavy, and Larka could feel her fingers slipping. Trying as she might, she couldn't heave herself up. Just as she felt like her life was slipping away from her, she looked down. The mighty sea was raging below. If the rocks didn't batter her, she was sure to drown or even be eaten by the shiver of sharks that was circling, eager to take a bite of this tasty little morsel. But just as Larka closed her eyes for what she thought would be her last time, she felt her fingers being pushed down to the earth. Larka looked up. It was Doctor treading on her fingers. "Thank you," exclaimed Larka. "You saved my life." Doctor chuckled to herself. "Oh no, I'm not saving your life. I'm savoring you. Savoring this final moment before you meet your grisly end. You are the evilest person who ever lived. Thank you so much. I try my best. To think a silly little girl like you could stop my brilliant plan. Now it's time for me to say good." Doctor lifted one foot off the ground. Larka slipped further. "Ah!" she cried. Now she was holding on with just one hand, but one by one she could feel her fingers slipping. "Please, I beg you, don't let me fall," Doctor smacked. "Bye!" The evil teacher lifted her other foot off the ground. Larka's fingers dragged through the earth. Scrape! And then there was nothing left to hold on to. Just there, Larka was falling. Whoosh! Ah! Chapter 49. Boing, boing, boing. As Larka plummeted through the air, she saw the sharks rising out of the waves. Their monstrous mouths were wide open, ready for their dinner to fall straight in. The girl fumbled with her air tank empty. She tried to stretch out her burnt wings, broken. In desperation, she tried flapping her arms, useless. All that was left to do was shut her eyes and wait for the end. But the end did not come. Instead, she felt herself landing on something. Boing! Larka opened her eyes. It was the Mega Monster. "What the?" she sputtered. The creature had leapt down onto the rocks and stretched itself out to form a huge green trampoline. Boing, boing, boing. Larka was bouncing up and down, having the time of her life. "Yippee!" she exclaimed. "We are a team!" "Yes, we are!" chimed in all the creatures of the Mega Monster. Together, looking up, Larka could see the silhouette of Dr. Doctor standing on the edge of the cliff. But before disappearing from view, "But this isn't over yet," she said. "Come on." A nasty surprise. Chapter 50. When they finally reached the top of the cliff, Doctor had vanished. Where could she be hiding? Larka wondered aloud. The Mega Monster scratched its head. "Somewhere so obvious that it would be the last place we'd looked," asked Larka. "The secret cave," exclaimed Dino Girl. "Daft, you're a genius," replied Larka. "Am I?" "Yes." "What's a genius?" "It means you are very, very, very clever." "Wow." "To the secret cave," ordered Larka. And the Mega Monster followed close behind. They descended the stone steps to the vault under the castle, and they soon reached the invisible door where, when it creaked open, the girl felt a sudden surge of fear. She didn't want to be the first down the long spiral staircase. If Doctor was down there, she was sure to have set a trap. Please, after you," sputtered Larka to the Mega Monster. No, replied the boogeyman, speaking up for all the other monsters. "We insist." Larka fell silent for a moment. "Can we go together?" she asked. "Yes," said the boogeyman, all of the monsters murmuring in agreement. "I'm afraid of the dark. Caves give me the willies. All hold hands. I want my mummy. Nobody guff." As if I would. When they reached the floor of the cave, Doctor was nowhere to be seen, although she could easily be hiding behind the fallen rocks. Larka broke away from the others to sabotage the monstrification machine. She let her fingers run along the wires sprouting from it. She yanked out one marked force field and plugged it into a different socket. That way, if Doctor had a nasty surprise in store for them, they would have a nasty surprise in store for her. Meanwhile, the boogeyman took Wormy out of his pocket. "All right, my little friend. Are you afraid of the dark?" he cooed, before lifting the creature up to his mouth for a kiss. He kissed both ends to be sure he'd got it right. Larka clambered over the rocks to see if she could spot the Doctor anywhere. But she couldn't, so she tiptoed over to the Mega Monster at the center of the cave. "She's not here," hissed the boogeyman. "Let's go." "I can sense evil down here. I'm sure of it," replied Larka. Sure enough, suddenly the greenhouse shot down from the roof at the cave. Rattle! In shock, Worms dropped Wormy to the ground and she wriggled away. The greenhouse landed square on top of Larka and the Meg Monster, imprisoning them. "No!" Help us! Let us out! Please! Wormy, where are you? Someone's guffed! I can't help it! I'm nervous! Looking up, Larka spotted a figure standing proudly on the roof of the greenhouse, like a pirate aboard their galleon. Do you miss me? Asked Doctor with a snigger. Ha 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 ha! Chapter 51, Something Strange. You won't get away with this, snapped Larka. I already have, replied Doctor. You can do nothing to stop me. All I need to do is decide what exactly to turn you into. With the precision of a ballet dancer, she leapt off the roof of the greenhouse and onto the cave floor. Inside the greenhouse, the Mega Monster was beginning to panic. Stop her! We can smash her our way out. Wormy, where are you? Silence, thundered Doctor. You're all trapped by the force field. She yanked on the lever, however, this time, instead of the lightning dancing over the greenhouse, it seemed to dance all over the cave. Fizzle, fazzle, fuzzle. Doctor noticed that this was strange, but ignored it. Her monstrification machine was a work of utter genius and would never let her down. Now she began taking her time to make it as torturous as possible. What could be the absolute worst thing to be turned into? The lady pursued all the drawers in her cabinet of curiosities, inspecting a collection of nasties. Tadpoles, rotten teeth, albatross poop, maggots, fur balls, underarm juice, woodlice, earwax, caterpillars, foot cheese, toads, sludge, grot, nasal hairs, severed thumbs, rotten cabbage. Then she noticed something crawling across the floor. It was Wormy the worm. I have just the thing, a wiggly waggly worm. No, Wormy, I beg you, cried the boogeyman. No, yelled Larka. Don't turn us into worms, please. The others all begged too. Do or don't, teased Doctor. Don't, she screamed. Now that you've said don't, I definitely will turn you all into worms. All right, said Larka, about to take a chance. Do turn us into worms. It would be a pleasure, replied Doctor. No, cursed the girl, furious with herself for having been tricked. Doctor, place the worm into the machine. Come along, my little nasty. The wicked lady pushed the button on the monstrification machine. This will be my most horrific creation yet. Monstrification, Chapter 52. There were shouts from all of the monsters. No, not a giant worm. Please, this is the end. Above all the hubbub, Larka hissed, please be quiet and wait. Wait for what? Sputtered the boogeyman. I just tinkered with the wires in the monstrification machine, hissed Larka. So look at the force field. It isn't over the greenhouse. It's out there. But shh, urged Larka. Just as she thought nothing was about to happen to her or the Mega Monster inside the greenhouse, nothing at all. However, outside in the cave was a different story. Right in front of their eyes, Doctor was turning into a monster. No! Screamed the Doctor as she became half science teacher, half giant worm. Doctor's face was becoming brown and bulbous. Her wormy body burst out of her clothes and she toppled from her feet, which had become a tail. In a stroke of good luck for Larka and the Mega Monster, the giant worm fell onto the lever that activated the greenhouse. Clank, clunk, clink. The greenhouse raced up to the ceiling of the cave. It smashed against the rocks. Smash. Deadly shards of glass fell from the ceiling. Whoosh. The Mega Monster leaped out of the way just in time, but in all that hurry to flee, Larka stumbled and fell forward. Clank. She was falling into a pit of lava. No! She cried. Glass daggers rained down on her from the ceiling. Fang, fang, fang. They pinned Larka down like a knife-throwing act at the circus. Twang, twang, twang. Now she was trapped, lying over the lava pit. The giant worm was crawling towards her. The creature's mouth opened, ready to gobble her up. Snarl. Then the Mega Monster leaped into the giant worm's path. Doof. Join me, Mega Monster, commanded the giant worm. We can rule not just this school, but the entire world for all eternity. We can turn every child on the planet into a monster. No, replied the Mega Monster, all the voices of the monsters speaking in unison. Then prepare to be devoured. With that, the giant worm lunged at the Mega Monster, taking a chomp out of its arm. Chomp. Meteor Man fell to the floor, now free. Summoning all of his strength, he blasted a red-hot ball of fire at the giant worm. Whoosh! The creature dodged out of the way and the fireball hit the monstrification machine. Woof. Instantly the machine exploded. Kaboom! The giant worm wailed, My life's work is destroyed. Now you will have to be destroyed too. She lunged again at the monstrification the Mega Monster, taking another huge bite out of it. All she got was a sticky mouthful of boogie and another of the creatures wriggling free. This time it was Shark Boy's turn to escape. Jump, 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 jump. 4 more chomps from the giant worm, and not only the giant jelly, Dino Girl, and the slug monster, but also Atomic Amoeba were now free from the boogeyman. The giant worm flailed around, trying to chomp at all the creatures spinning around her. There were more and more as the moments went by. Atomic Amoeba multiplied and multiplied and multiplied some more. Ping, ping, ping! The giant jelly launched herself at the giant worm, landing as hard as she could on her tail. Thunk! Ah! Came a guttural growl of pain from the giant worm. She whipped her tail as hard as she could. Snap! Sending the giant jelly flying through the air. The monster hit the spiral staircase. Thump! Sending it crashing to the ground. Smash! Crash! Wallop! Now there was no way out of the secret cave. Chapter 53. Gobbled up. To make matters worse, Larka was about to be gobbled up by a giant worm. Her fate was to become worm food. Flame-grilled worm food, because the heat from the lava was cooking her. Her only means of escape was to free herself from the shards of glass that were pinning her over the lava pit. But try as she might, they just wouldn't budge. Ah! She cried as she struggled. You started this revolution, Larka, now it will end, forever, announced the giant worm, opening her mouth to take her first deadly bite out of her. Just then Larka remembered that she still had the spiral spectacles in her pocket. With difficulty she put them on and pressed the button on the side. No, 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 shouted the giant worm. Not the spiral spectacles. Under the gaze of the spiral spectacles, the giant worm became dead still. Then she began falling straight towards the girl. They were both about to tumble into the lava. Help! Screamed Larka. Just then the boogeyman stuck his hand out of the girl's tin biscuit helmet and yanked her out of the way. Whisk! No! Cried the giant worm, but it was too late. The monster plunged into the mouth of the volcano. Sizzle! Yellow slime like thick custard oozed out of the giant worm as she was devoured by the lava. Spurtle! You saved my life, boogeyman, spluttered Larka. Well, it would have been rude not to, he replied. Did you know you can actually jump into a volcano, but only once, she joked. I can't believe you're still cracking gags at a time like this. Poof, poof, poof. The giant worm was causing an explosive reaction within the volcano. Now that the lava was blasting out of the pit. You're right, replied Larka. We need to get out of here and fast. As quickly as they could, the boogeyman whipped over to the exploded monstification machine and rescued Wormy. A little singe, he said, inspecting his little friend, but you will live. Now let's go. The staircase is destroyed, cried the giant jelly, and it's all my stupid fault. It's impossible to get out. Nothing's impossible, exclaimed Larka. There must be a way. I have an idea. Shall everyone leap onto my back, suggested Shark Boy. We can swim up to the invisible door. And they did just that. Unsteadily, Shark Boy took off and flew up to the top of the cave. Whoosh! Now the molten lava was blasting skywards. Boof, boof, boof. The volcano that the castle had been built on was erupting. The heroes just managed to zoom out of the invisible door before the entire cave exploded. Kaboom! Chapter 54. Volcano. It was the middle of the night and the volcano was erupting under the castle. Every pupil had to get out alive. So as soon as they reached the ground level of the castle, Larka gave the order to the monsters. We need to free all the kids, every last one, to the bedrooms. Dino Girl smashed down the first door, setting the first child free. Bash! Not to be outdone, the giant slug did the same. Boom! Then, of course, all the monsters wanted to go. In no time, they had smashed open every single door. Whoops. Doof, crunch, kabam, thunk. When all the kids were gathered together, Larka called out to them, Do not be alarmed by the monsters, I repeat. Do not be alarmed by the monsters. It's a long story and we don't have time to go into it right now because, and please don't panic, the school is about to be destroyed by a volcanic eruption. Well, if there was one thing to make people panic, it is to tell them not to panic, and then to tell them there is a volcanic eruption. Immediately, panic erupted. Stop! Shouted Larka over the noise. None of the kids listened. Roar! Roared Dino Girl. Suddenly, they all shut up. Thank you, Dino Girl. Everyone, this is really daft. The children all stared at the half-human, half-dinosaur in disbelief. As I said, it's a long story. The only way out of this castle alive is to follow me. We need to go this way. With that, Larka held her arm up into the air and began marching down the hallway away from the molten lava that was now oozing along the passage. However, they only just turned the corner when they were confronted by the entire staff of the Cruel School. Going somewhere, are we? Asked Metal, who was at the front of the pack. Behind him was Rank, Digits, Gibbler, Dunk, and the Professor. Black Ball, Bush, and even the mysterious boatman. Yes, we are actually. We're escaping from the volcanic eruption, declared Larka. No one escapes the cruel school, was the chilling reply. Oh, don't be a pain in the bum, replied Larka. Let us pass. You're all clockwork robots anyway. Doctor called her your clockbots. Clockbots, they all cried in unison. No, we're not, asked Metal. Yes, you are, said Larka. Metal looked around to prompt his fellow staff members to join in, which they did. No, we're not. Yes, you are. No, we're not. Yes, you are. No, we're not. Look, we don't have time for this, said Larka. Toodle-pip, pipped up the professor, her head, arms and legs all in the wrong sockets. Toodle-pip, toodle-pip, toodle-pip. The headmistress is definitely a clockbot. Just look at her, exclaimed Larka. Metal turned around and stared straight at the professor. Yep, she might be a little bit clockbotic, I'll give you that, but she's the only one. Then they turned back to face Larka. You are all clockbots, insisted Larka. Trust me, why do you think you all tick? Do we? Yes, chimed in all the monsters and kids. Then behind the staff, Larka could see molten lava creeping along the hallway. Sizzle, clockbots, behind you, shouted Larka. I'm not falling for that, old one, snorted Metal. No, really, behind you. What do you think this is, an end of the pier pantomime? Now the lava had reached the backs of the clockbots. No wonder they couldn't feel the intense heat, as they were all made of metal. This way, announced Larka. Her followers parted, and she led them in another direction away from the lava. Toodle-pip, repeated the professor. Toodle-pip, toodle-pip, toodle-pip. Metal sighed with frustration. Oh, do put a sock in it, Grandma, he said, turning around. Finally, the white-hot heat from the lava melted their wax skin. The metal skeletons were revealed. Me, a clockbot, remarked Metal, looking down at his metal arms and legs. Well, I never now. After them! Metal Skeletons, Chapter 55. Everywhere, Larka led the kids and monsters through there were lava and more lava. We'll have to escape across the roof, she exclaimed. One by one, she helped all the children out of the high window onto the roof, and then the monsters followed. Ladies first, said the boogeyman. No, replied Larka. Boogies first. Her friend laughed and climbed out of the window. Just as the girl climbed up too, she could feel someone or something grabbing hold of her. No, she replied, or cried. Looking back inside the castle, she could see the metal skeleton of Metal and all the other clockbots grabbing onto her leg. She even spied Digit's metal fingers. Once again, the biscuit tin on her head came in useful. Larka pulled it off and began bashing all the metal hands away. Clank, clink, clonk. The lava now oozed all the way up to the ceiling. Just as she bashed the last metal hand away, the clockbots were demolished by the force of the lava. No! cried the clockbots. As they were imprisoned forever in the molten rock, Larka ran across the roof of the castle, following the others. However, the white-hot lava below was melting the roof. With every leap she took, it collapsed behind her. The poor pelican was still chained to one of the turrets. Squawk, squawk, squawk! Went the bird in terror, feeling the intense heat of the lava beneath him. Larka stopped to free it. She gave the pelican a kiss on the beak and threw it up into the air. As she cried, Fly, fly free, poor chained-up bird! The pelican did nothing of the sort. Instead, it just crash-landed on the girl's head. Bash! Now she wished she was still wearing that biscuit tin helmet. The poor bird must have been out of flying practice. Larka ran across the roof as it continued to collapse beneath her feet. Ahead, she could feel the last of the monsters slide down a drain pipe on the side of the castle. Whoomp, whoomp, whoomp. Hold on tightly, said Larka to the pelican before they slid down the drain pipe. Whoomp. Nice hat, remarked the boogeyman. Don't ask, said Larka to the boat. The children and the monsters surged forward. One by one, they slid down the rope ladder of the side of the cliff. Ahead was where the school's rowboat was kept. Just as Larka and the pelican grabbed hold of the ladder, the volcano exploded, taking the castle with it. Kaboom! They had all piled on the boat and pushed themselves away from the rocks when the entire island crumbled into the sea. Glog, glog, glog. In an instant, as if it had all been a bad dream, the cruel school was no more. The castle was now deep under the sea, never to be found again. Wow, said Larka. I can't believe it's gone. Gone forever, added the boogeyman. Yes, shouted the children and monsters in triumph. Chapter 56. The Inky Black Sea. The children rowed out to the inky black sea. All was still. All was quiet. Too still. Too quiet. Danger was not far away. Out of the deep, dark water, shapes began emerging. Sharks. A shiver of sharks circled the rowboat. At first, all you could see were the fins before the jaws began snapping out of the water. Just as the rowboat was being thrown around in the waves, there was another nasty surprise. Out of the box under the bench of the boat, a gnarled hand shot out and grabbed Larka's ankle. "Ah!" she screamed. Grunted Grunt as he slid out from his hiding places. Before crouched atop his shiny dome was Fiend, the one-eyed, one-legged cat. "Hiss!" hissed Fiend before sinking her teeth into Larka's other ankle. "Yikes!" she yelped. Grunt scrambled to his feet and began trying to push Larka off the boat as Fiend began swiping at the girl's face with her paw. The cat's sharp claws were out, inches from Larka's nose. "Give me that oar," roared the boogeyman. His long, green, sticky arm reached across the boat and grabbed the last remaining oar from one of the children. He pulled it back, ready to strike. "Take this, Grunt!" shouted the boogeyman, brandishing the long wooden weapon. The force of the impact sent Grunt and his feline friend toppling into the water. Whoosh! Splosh! Splash! The boogeyman reached out an oar. "Here, hold on to this." The cat leaped onto it and dragged herself with one paw up the oar. Her master was not so lucky. Grunt went to grab the oar, but the biggest, hungriest shark dragged him down into the depths. "Snap! Hurr!" grunted Grunt for the final time. There was a quiet for a moment until the shark repurposed and did a ginormous burp. Burp! Then a metal skeleton shot out of the shark's mouth. Ka-chang! It flew through the air and landed in the water. Splosh. "Grunt was a clockpot too?" exclaimed the girl. The once benevolent Moggy curled up on the girl's lap and purred as if she were the sweetest pet in the world. Purr! Larka looked down at it. Suddenly the cat looked adorable and she couldn't help but stroke her. The pelican, however, had other ideas and did a poop in the cat's one good eye. Plop! Chapter 57, The Monster Gang. Soon the welcoming lights of the coast were in sight. "I told my horrible teacher, Miss Clomp, I would escape," said Larka. "I didn't know it would be taking everyone with me, even the pelican. And we all thought escape was impossible," replied the boogeyman. "Nothing's impossible," said Larka with a grin. "You have done a great thing, my friend. You set us all free." "We set ourselves free, remember," she replied. "We did it, and could only have done it together." "Squawk!" agreed the pelican, still perched on her head. "Together," agreed all the children and monsters, now one happy band of friends. Not long after that, we were all safely back on the land. The children hugged each other, so happy to be back in the world. "Well, I suppose this is goodbye," said the boogeyman. "Does it have to be?" asked Larka, holding Fiend in her arms. "What do you mean?" "Well, if we remained a team of monsters, we could right wrongs for kids all over the world. We could call ourselves the Monster Gang." "I'm in," said the boogeyman. "I would love to be a part of a monster gang," added Shark Boy. "Me too," said Dino Girl. "And me," said the Giant Chili. "I'm there," chirped Meteor Man. "Me as well," said the Slug Monster. "Don't forget me," said Atomic Amoeba. "Or me, or me, or me," added all her multiples. "Meow!" meowed Fiend. "Squawk!" added the Pelican. "Eek!" agreed a singed wormy in the boogeyman's pocket. "Then let's take to the skies," exclaimed Larka, "and find the very first mission for the Monster Gang." With that, they all took their places on board Shark Boy and zoomed off high into the night sky. It was a time for a whole new adventure. The end. Well, I hope you've enjoyed reading Mega Monster by David Walliams. It's been quite a journey, but we've made it to the end of Term 3. And what a way to end this book then. All right, well, I look forward to seeing what we're going to do for Term 4 and going back to school eventually. I think around about week 5 and 6. Well, bye for now.